Hi, I'm Peleg Top, and it's my pleasure to offer you the recording of this session. Before you dive in, I'd like to offer you a couple of tips on how to make the most of this enriching listening experience. The way you show up to this work will shape your experience. So I encourage you to treat this recording as a live session. In other words, be a participant, not just an observer. Do the work. Choose a comfortable and quiet environment where you can listen without interruptions, and avoid listening while driving. I'm going to lead you through some reflective writing exercises, and that's best done while not operating a vehicle. If you can, use a pair of headphones. That will enhance your listening experience and minimize external distractions. And bring your full attention. This session is packed with insightful information, so I encourage you to be fully present, take notes, do the exercises, and engage with the process fully. And finally, please consider liking and subscribing to this channel. This will only help to take this work into the world in a bigger way so that more people find it and benefit from it. Enjoy. Welcome everyone to our Shabbat session. Hello, hello. Seeing some familiar faces and some new faces. So I first wanted to say thank you for organizing your life to be here today. This session, this time that you have carved out for yourself is more than anything an act of self-love. And why is it an act of self-love? It's because you've identified something that exists in your life, that possibly an energy that shows up, that holds you back, that prevents you from fully showing up in the world to yourself, from fully loving yourself. So coming here and being here in this session and doing the work that we're about to do and being engaged and fully participating is medicine. And that's how I hold these sessions, as medicine, soul medicine. I believe everybody here on this call has been to one of our sessions, or I don't know if there's any new faces, but let me officially introduce myself and tell you what we're going to be doing today. In the next 100 minutes or so, we're going to get present. We're going to do a little bit of meditation, and we'll have conversations about quieting our sabotaging inner voice. There'll be some teaching, there'll be some reflective writing that we'll do, and there'll be some live coaching. And we'll have time for community response, for comments, for reflections, for questions. And I'll also share a little bit about the upcoming journey that is about to take place, my next cohort of the 100 days of creative high growth that's kicking off in April. And I'll tell you a little bit more about it. We have a few alumni who joined us today that may want to share from their experience. But first of all, some housekeeping. This session is an invitation and an opportunity for you to slow down a bit, to find this quiet space inside of you, to get present. So for those of you who don't know me, let me tell you a little bit about myself and why I host these type of gatherings for our community. So I'm Peleg Top, and I live in Santa Fe in New Mexico. And I walk two paths in my life. I wear two hats, and the path of a artist and the path of a mentor. As an artist, my artistic life is occupied by many different things. Oftentimes when we meet artists and they talk about their art, they tend to confine themselves to a certain practice. Oh, I'm a painter, I'm a sculptor, I'm a filling the blank. I don't see myself that way. I am an artist and I channel my creative and artistic energy into whatever it is that interests me. There's no limitation. So I'm a painter, I'm a writer, I'm an ecstatic dance facilitator, I'm a designer, I'm a creator, I'm a maker. I'm a facilitator. So though that falls into my artistry, this is the artistic life that I live, right? As a mentor, I've been coaching people, mostly creatives and teachers and coaches, for about 20 years now. This year marks my 20 year of doing this work, since shifting from being a designer, a full-time professional creative, or prior to that. I shifted my, I pivoted my career around the age of 40. As I mentioned, I'm the creator and founder of the 100 Days of the Creative High Growth Program, which is a personal and creative journey. It's something that I birthed about 5 years ago, and um, I've witnessed amazing miracles happening through people who've gone through this process. People who seek to truly liberate their creative free spirit and learn the tools to shift to living a life of abundance. And abundance really sits at the core of the most of the work that I do in the world. The Creative High Growth Program is a training. It helps people, especially creatives or people who coach creatives, teaches you to learn and practice the tools that help you shift from scarcity to abundance in your mindset. So, in today's session, we'll examine your sabotaging inner voice and how it's actually holding you back, how sneaky it is from living a life of abundance, and explore what you can do and who you can be to quiet that voice so that you begin to open up a space for you for that abundance energy to flow. Now, something extraordinary happens when we gather in community for the sake of supporting each other on our journey. And a community can be fuel for personal growth. What I've learned through my work is that being in community has the power to create synergy that inspires and motivates and amplifies our potential. And this is a community of extraordinary creators. You very unique artists and gifted teachers and powerful light workers. Every one of you here is a light worker, whether you see yourself as a light worker or not. But the fact that you are working on yourself to help you shine your light brighter in the world, that is light work. And if you're on this call, if you're listening to this in the recording, or those of you who are here live with me now, it tells me that you're a seeker and that you value the time that you spend on the most important part of your life, your inner world. So my hope for you today is you leave this session feeling more connected to yourself, that you feel a sense of belonging, and that you take whatever touches you and your heart, practice, put it into practice, and teach others, because we teach what we need to learn most. Yeah. So so thank you for creating this time for yourself, for being here, and I encourage you to stay for the duration of the call. Use the time as a precious opportunity to meet yourself in a new way. And what I know for sure is that the more that we do this work, the bigger the ripple effect that we create in spreading love in the world. Yeah. So let's take a breath. And this will be a good time. Light it and use this flame of this candle as a centering point. And I'd like to share a prayer as we light this candle. As we gather from different corners of the world, let us take a moment to connect our hearts and our spirits in this beautiful shared space. May the soft glow of these candles become a beacon of unity, lighting the path toward a sense of community that transcends the digital realm. In the gentle flicker of each flame, may we find reflection of the warmth and uniqueness that each one of us brings into this circle. And as we light our candle, let us be present in this moment, embracing the beauty of our diversity and the strength of our togetherness. So now, just do me a favor and take a deep breath and close your eyes. And then breathe out. And let all settle. Just stay here with me for a few minutes. And begin to bring all your attention and awareness to the crown of your head. Down into your forehead, the space between your eyes. Dropping that awareness and attention to your ears, your nose, your mouth. Just let your jaw drop and then draw your attention to your throat, to your arms, to your fingers. All the way down your lower back, your stomach, down through your seat, to your legs and knees, and then into your feet. Drawing awareness to your toes. Now, draw that awareness back into your chest, into your heart. And from that space, take a deep breath in, a deep breath out, and just let go. Allow your heart to be present, to be open, to receive love that is here for you. And if it feels right, when it feels right, gently open your eyes and just taking the space around you. So I want to begin our teaching segment of this of our session today, and talking about abundance. Creating abundance and being in abundance flow is really the core of this work. And the sabotage and inner voice that we're talking about has a lot to do with how abundance shows up in your life. So allow me to share my screen so I can share with you what I call the abundance formula. The way that I approach abundance is about a mindset and an energy that's in my life, right? You'll ask 10 different people, what does abundance mean to them? You'll get 10 different answers usually. And I invite you to challenge your own definition of what abundance means. But for the sake of our session today, abundance is an energy, it's a mindset, it's a positive energy. It's a positive energy that we have the power to create. We have the ability to create. And living in a state of abundance is about the ability to do whatever it is you want to do when you want to do it. Now, abundance responds to love. So that's the energy that we are cultivating today, is activating love when we are not in that love activation, abundance activation mode, which means we have to consciously put effort into that. We fall asleep to ourselves. And when we fall asleep to ourselves, we shift into scarcity mindset, right? So the abundance energy, to keep that energy active in our lives, there's three pillars that I've identified that if we are actively engaged in keeping these activities, these ways of being in our life, chances are that we'll stay awake. Chances are that we will be in that love energy. The first one is creativity. And when I say creativity, we think to be creative. Like, what does that mean to be creative? It's, again, you'll ask 10 different people, you get 10 different answers. For the sake of this session today and this work, when I think creativity, I think self-expression, creative self-expression, artistry. Am I expressing myself in my life? Now, so many of the people that come to this work because of my history and experience in the creative industry, a lot of designers and people who work in the professional creative work come to this work because most of us have been used to doing creative work, but approaching it from a problem-solving perspective. And this is not about problem solving. This is about expression. So the question is, how are you expressing yourself in your life? Through art, through your creativity. And art is a beautiful vehicle to experience that. The second element is self-love. If I'm not loving myself, guess what I'm doing? I'm just judging myself. So how am I practicing consciously self-love? What is my self-love exercise that I engage in? Just like the physical part of my body that I need to keep active and healthy. Well, there's the inner side of my body, right? The spiritual side of my body. Am I keeping that healthy as well? And the third part is gratitude, to really notice all the good that's going on. We live in a world that continuously sends us messages that everything is wrong, that things are falling apart. If you don't believe me, just turn on the news. Right? So creative self-expression, self-love, and gratitude practice. Those are three pillars that we are working with here. Now, when those three elements are not active in our life, guess what happens? We fall into the negative space, the lack, the scarcity. Okay. Now, scarcity responds to fear. It's pretty simple if you think about it. We always have two choices in life to come from. We can come from a place of love or we can come from a place of fear. Fortunately, fear is the default for most of us. So in order for us to get ourselves from that space of fear, we have to do some work. We have to put energy into reactivating abundance, because if we're in scarcity, we're not going to be creating. We're going to be reacting to the world. We're going to be in reactive mode. That is exhausting. And if we're not loving ourselves, our inner critic is going to take over. See, if love is not occupying that inner space, something has to occupy that inner space. And your inner critic, your resistance will come right up. That's because you have a human body. That's because that's how we're wired. The inner critic is not something, the resistance is not something that ever goes away. In order for us to to stay in that space of love, we have to put energy into taming that inner critic. Now, think about self-love and inner critic as two areas of a scale, right? So if self-love is active and high, then the inner critic will naturally get low. But if the self-love if there's a deficit there, if that's low, well, the scale's just going to go the other way. And your inner critic is going to rage out of control. Sometimes to the point of depression, sometimes to the point of really dark space. And we've all been there. We've all been there. So the third pillar, if we're not practicing a space of gratitude, we find ourselves being a space of expectation. We walk around expecting things to happen. And guess what? I mean, you know this already. There's a saying that says, if you sow expectations, you reap disappointments. So if you are experiencing disappointments in your life, if things are not quite working out the way you want them to, you're probably in a space of expectation, and the gratitude practice will probably need a little activation in your life. So these three pillars, these areas is the creative high growth process, is the creative high growth work. And today we're going to be looking at one of the pillars, the inner critic, that resistance, that self-sabotaging voice that all of us have, right? The inner critic, your inner critic, if self-love is not active, then it's working overtime. The places in your life where you feel stuck and frustrated, those are the places that your inner critic just thrives. Your inner critic wants to kill your best ideas. It wants you to stop, to delay, and to live in the land of procrastination. Now, your inner critic comes from that logical aspect of your mind. It's fed by your inner problem solver. So if you want to create something in your life and you're thinking too much about the results and the process and the outcome and the mechanism of how will I do this, you're actually allowing your inner critic to control your creativity. And oftentimes that's where we get stuck. Your inner critic will try to avert you in very manipulative ways. You'll find yourself thinking that you're not good enough, believing that you're not good enough, that you're unworthy, that you need external permission to follow your dreams. This is dangerous because you're giving power to resistance. And if you want to create something new in your life, something exciting, something fulfilling, something satisfying, right? And at the same time, you have this inner voice that says, you're not worth it. You can't do it. There's no way. You're not good enough. You'll be judged. You'll be laughed at. Well, if you're believing that voice, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to feel stuck. You're going to feel frustrated. You're going to keep procrastinating. So today, we're going to be taking some power away from that resistance and begin to help you reconnect to love, activate love, and activate that great power inside of you. So I want to begin with giving you a short exercise as a just as a diagnostic for yourself, right? So I want you to open your notebooks, and I'd like for you to identify at least 6 things that you want to create in your lives, things that you want to do that you feel resistance to, that you've been procrastinating on, that it's scaring you. It's just these things you're hearing a calling for something inside of you, but you haven't done anything about it yet. And maybe you've been carrying this idea with you for a long time. Identify 6 things that you'd like to do. Okay, I'll give you 5 minutes for this. I'd like to invite maybe two people to share some of the things that they identified. We're not gonna unpack them. We don't need to know why you haven't done them. We just want to hear examples of the type of things that um, that are present for us. That resistance is holding you back from creating or putting energy into creating that in your life. So, who's the first brave Voyager? Okay, here we go. Go ahead, Sherry. Unmute yourself.
Finish my paintings.
Okay. Finish your paintings. Go on.
Well, top of the list is finish my paintings. And then what else? No, that's all.
Okay. Okay. Hello, inner critic. Hello. Yes. Is it I want to make sure I pronounce your name correctly.
Don't worry about it. Everybody.
Guiling?
Guylaine. I'm French.
Oh, Guylaine. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So, okay.
Okay.
What you got?
Well, restart the business because it's been pending for all my life, but I come out of losing both my parents in the last 2 months, so I'm starting fresh all over again.
Okay.
But I see paperwork. Okay, so that's a problem. Not a problem, but a handicap to go over if it occurs. Discover how to play with tangible materials. I want to have a creative space. Use tools and whatnot. Okay. And rebuild relationship.
Okay.
Find a new way for a relationship with friends, their ins or their outs, and find my man. Finally, that's
awesome.
it.
Oh, that's a great list. That's a great list. Beautiful. Beautiful. There's something I want to read you guys from. If you don't have this book, highly recommend getting a copy, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. I revisit this book often. I want to read you something about fear. Fear is good. Like self-doubt, fear is an indicator. Fear tells us what we have to do. Remember our rule of thumb. The more scared we are of a work, of a calling, the more sure we can be that we have to do it. Resistance is experienced as fear. The degree of fear equates to the strength of resistance. Therefore, the more fear we feel about a specific thing, the more certain we can be that that thing is important to us and to the growth of our soul. That's why we feel so much resistance. If it meant nothing to us, there would be no resistance. So every single thing that you've identified on this list that I've asked you to write means something to you. And when you look at this list right now, here's the second part of our exercise. I want you to look at every one of those things that you identified and write down what is the reason that your resistance have convinced you not to do it yet, but something else is holding me back, or there's resistance will always come up with a really, really convincing excuse, right? So see if you can identify what are some of those reasons that you haven't actually put energy into creating whatever it is that you identified here, whatever your soul's calling. Take a couple minutes for that. And I'm going to ask maybe a couple of you to share one example of what are your things that you've identified and what is the story that was holding you back until now. I really invite you to be as real as you can with yourself when you look at the reasons you haven't been doing things that you want to do. Let's hear a couple of examples. Yeah, Cherie, let's hear from you again. Thanks for
Not
participating.
perfect, being criticized, don't deserve, and found out to be an imposter.
And this is relating to why you haven't been finished your paintings?
Right.
Okay, so can you repeat those again?
Not perfect and being criticized, don't deserve, and found out to be an imposter.
Powerful stuff, huh? Who can relate to that? Just
Mhm.
watch, Cherie. The couple people are raising their hands. This is called being human. Yeah, you're not alone. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Let's see. Let's give the Ben. Go ahead, Ben.
Hi. Um, yeah, I had one, and this was related to some mixed media work that I had wanted to work on. I sort of had picked it up and put it down, but had been moving towards it again with cleaning out some studio space. So it is helping to re-engage with it. But the thing is, sometimes this thing comes around and it says it'll just hang out on the shelf.
Oh, why bother?
Yeah, there you go.
Why bother? Yeah. Who has a why bother happening in the background? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. See, you're not alone. Yeah. Beautiful. Let's see. Toby. Welcome, Toby.
Hi there. Um, my desire is that my body would be in peak condition and beauty. And my reason why not is why bother? My phys- my physical peak is over. There's no reason to be sexy anymore because I don't have sex with my husband anymore. And it just leads to temptation and potential problems with my marriage, which is already a little in trouble.
Powerful. Thank you for your vulnerability. Yeah. Yeah. So as you can see, resistance is powerful. It's convincing. It's got a great law team, a great team of lawyers that will have all of the best arguments why you shouldn't. Yeah, it's powerful. And underneath all that is fear, right? So what is the real fear underneath it? Let's do another exercise and go a little deeper to inquire, right? And this, I want to remind you, this is self-love work in action, right? You inquiring about this has already taken you out of resistance for right now. Because right now you are in the space of the observer. You're observing that part of yourself. So I just want you to take note how powerful it can be when you pause and meet yourself and actually do this type of work to keep you moving forward. So I want to give you an inquiry to work with, and an inquiry is a tool that that helps us uncover what is in our subconscious, what is doesn't have language. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a sentence to complete. It's actually a two-part sentence. And what I'd like you to do is complete this sentence 12 different times and write it out 12 different times. It's really important to write out the entire sentence with what it is that comes through. Now, you may feel a little stuck along the way, like, I don't know what to say here. The idea is it doesn't matter. Write gibberish for all I care. The idea is to just keep the hand moving. Do not stop, because the moment you stop, you're opening a space for resistance to come in. Your sentence is, I would love to blank, but I'm afraid that blank. So I would love to finish my painting, but I'm afraid that it won't be perfect. Right? 12 times, 12 different examples. I would love to blank, but I'm afraid that blank. Let's take another minute. So wrap up your last sentence. Beautiful. Good work. So I'd love to invite a couple of you to maybe share what you wrote, maybe someone we haven't heard from yet. I want to remind you that if you're feeling afraid or ashamed or anything, if there's resistance right now for actually going live and sharing your truth, the antidote to that is vulnerability, is to actually step into that space and tap into the love that is here for you. Janine, thank you for sharing. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Sure. Well, one of them was I would love to sell my herbal oils. But then I worry about being sued, right? If you have a product and it hurts someone, are they going to sue you? And it feels like that should be a ridiculous reason not to do it. And I tend to give them away, but everyone's like, you should be selling them. But then also you can't, the other afraid is you can't make money at this is where my head is. You can't make money from that can't be a second source of income.
Okay, good. What else? You have a few more to share with us? Just read them out.
Okay, so I would love to have like some type of wellness artist community, but I don't know what that looks like. I'm afraid of the obstacles, the financial barriers.
Great, keep going.
So I recently found out a neighbor down the road could be in need, right? And I would love to help them, but I don't want to walk on their property. I'm literally afraid I'll be shot. And
Okay.
so I'm going to reach out to the senior center and try and identify the person and see if there's a way that if I bake extra bread, they can, like if they're food vulnerable. So, but there's a fear there.
Mhm.
I'd love to show my art, but I'm afraid people will not respond.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry, I'm just looking what else I wrote. I would like another stream of income. But it goes back to I'm afraid I won't make money.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Powerful excuses, right? Yeah. Anybody else? Paul, welcome back, Paul.
Hi, everybody. So I'll go quick.
Great.
I'd love to paint large-scale canvases, but I'm afraid that I have nothing meaningful to say. I'd love to get off my ass and create a series of books with my photography, but I'm afraid that sitting in front of a computer again will give me PTSD. I'd love to squeeze as much out of as little material such as charcoal or pencils, but I'm afraid the time is not right and I'm lazy. I'd love to make a practice of drawing from life every day, starting today, but I'm afraid I'd call attention to myself, by doing this in public. I'd love to leverage all these books that I own to create collages and mixed media art, but I'm afraid they're too precious to decimate or harvest for this reason. And I'd love to create all sorts of short videos, slideshows with music based on things that have deep sentimental meaning to me, but I'm afraid I'd get lost in the weeds and that I'd lack the technical skill and it would be depressing.
Powerful. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Who can relate? Yep. Yeah. One more. Yes, Adele. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, I'll be quick too. I would love to write a book, but I'm afraid that I won't know how. I'd love to be in a relationship, but I'm afraid that I'll never find love again. I would love to be in a community, but I'm afraid I'll never find my people. I'd love to be happy, but I'm afraid that my inner critic will never let me be happy. I would love to have another bird, but I'm afraid to take care of it. I'd love to learn a craft very well, but I'm afraid I don't have the patience to do it. I'd love to learn Spanish fluently, but I'm afraid I won't be motivated to do it. I would love to be in love again, but I'm afraid that's not in my future. I would love to let go of my guilt and angst at the way I've lived my life, but I'm afraid to let go. I'd love to have a happy life, but I'm afraid that will not happen. I'd love to feel love inside, but I'm afraid I'm all worn out. And I'd love to let go of my anger and fear, but I'm afraid to forgive myself.
Wow. Thank you. Yeah. Powerful. Powerful. Yeah. So when you guys hear other people talk about what they want to create and what they're afraid of, what goes through your mind as you're hearing somebody else say that? I'm curious. Anybody else has a thought? Like when you're witnessing someone sharing those thoughts. Yes, Gulin.
Well, your question just, anyway, it's just like when you listen like this, you're there like, does all of this belongs to me to a certain level?
Say more
Do
on
I
that.
have everybody in there? Versus what we can see in ourselves? Because you need a sounding board, you know? So, yeah, it was very interesting. Thank you, people.
Gretchen.
Attention and stuff. Yeah, that's what it resonated with me.
Beautiful.
So
Thank you.
I hear desires, and I want these people to have them. Like my heart wants Paul to be doing all those cool things he just talked about. And then the other woman, all those desires that she would like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What else are you hearing in the fear part? Yes, David.
Not alone. Right? All facing the same thing.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what I'm hearing mostly? Our lies. Lies that we tell ourselves. Lies that our inner critic has done such a good job in convincing us to believe, that we give it so much power and we let that run us. Because when you look at every single thing that you just wrote, all the fears that you have, right? They're just stories. There are you living in the future. There are you believing in an outcome based on a story that you've picked up somewhere, a story that no longer serves you. And each of us has the opportunity at every moment to rewrite our story, to rewrite the outcome, to forget about the outcome, to not really be attached to the outcome. Notice in everything that you wrote, all the fears that you have are all attached to a negative outcome, right? Can you detach from that outcome? Can you let that outcome go? How liberating could that feel? If you really looked at that fear, you've just identified it. You've become really clear about here's what I'm afraid of. Okay. Begin to unpack that with yourself. Like, is that really true? What am I basing that on? Where did that story come from? And what else is possible? So, in a way, we tend to focus on the negative. When self-love and when those pillars of abundance are not activated and active in our lives, we fall asleep to that negativity. And very quickly, that voice becomes the main character in our head, telling us that we're not good enough, we're not worthy, why bother, all of those things. But every single thing that you wrote that you're afraid of, okay, let's take a look at those same things. Take maybe one of the things that you wrote, one that really resonates from you, one that the fear feels the strongest in, maybe, and rewrite that sentence. Rewrite that sentence without the negative outcome. So in other words, if I said, I'd love to finish my paintings, but I'm afraid that I'll be rejected, rewrite it in a positive way. So that would sound like something like, I would love to finish my paintings, and I look forward to my first gallery show where everything will be sold. Right? It may feel so weird and untrue, but see if you can imagine a positive outcome. Because if the default is the negative and you're stuck in that imagining the worst case scenario, right? The only way to get out of that is to activate your imagination, activate your creative, your expression, and imagine the positive outcome. Okay? You may not believe the positive outcome. It may not come true, but you're sure believing the negative one. You're giving that a lot of power and energy. So let's take a couple of minutes to work on maybe a couple of these sentences, and give yourself permission to think of a positive, beautiful outcome. What would that look like? Beautiful. Go ahead and finish this last one. All right, let's hear a couple of examples. Yeah, Erickson, tell us what was the original one that you wrote and how you reframed it.
Okay. The original one is I would love to create workshops, but I'm afraid no one will come. My reframe is I would love to create workshops, and I look forward to it being so well received that 30 people show up for my first one.
Beautiful.
The second one is I would love to reach out to people, but I'm afraid of rejection. My reframe, I would love to reach out to people and be so aligned with them that I always create powerful ways to serve them and be well compensated for it. And the last one is I would love to finish my book, but I'm afraid it will hurt my parents by revealing the past. And my reframe is I would love to release my third book and have the wounds of the past healed by addressing them with truth, grace, love, compassion, and wisdom so that we can all leave this shit go and have the relationships we've always desired.
Right on. How does it feel to reframe those just in this moment of this work?
Wow. I mean, you had me at the last one, you had me crying because I'm so fearful of this, but I would love to let this shit go. And as you know, as a 7 on the Enneagram, reframing's my thing, but there was a power in this in meeting it with such vulnerability, and doing it in such a way to turn it that there's a lot of power there. And wow.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your vulnerability, Erickson. And I encourage you to continue offline and address the other things that you wrote, because that's you've just created your own medicine here. You just created a new story that didn't even exist before until you gave yourself permission to activate your imagination, activate that creative free spirit that says, don't worry about things that go wrong. Let's think about what could go right. Let's think about what's possible. Let's put energy into these stories. Okay. Anybody else?
I just love the way that,
yeah.
If I could just share, I just love the way that you just framed that for me. Imagination is medicine. I never would have thought of it that way, but that's powerful. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's hear another example. Maybe someone who we haven't shared yet. Sharon, go ahead. What was the original one? Give us an example. And how did you reframe it?
Okay, my original was I would love to illustrate, but I'm afraid that I'm not good enough. And I would love to illustrate my books and people would enjoy them.
Yeah, that's simple. I would love to illustrate, and I can't wait till people enjoy my work. Yeah. How does that shift feel? Can you tell a difference energetically in your body?
Yeah. Yeah, it gives me a little bit more desire to do it, to share it.
Thank you. So we have these two voices in our head, right? We have the voice of fear and we have the voice of love. Which voice is active? Which voice are you feeding? Which voice are you giving attention to, nurturing? So you have what it takes in you to shift. It's just a matter of having a new perspective and really looking at the story, like really looking at the story that you've created, that you now believe that that's where your resistance lives. So good work. Thank you for sharing. And I encourage you to continue working with this list. And when you begin to imagine the positive outcome, okay, and you begin to feel that warmth and the love and the excitement and the motivation start becoming activated in you, let go of the outcome. Let go and just stay with the feeling and get into work. Right? So that's a really powerful tool, you guys, because this is something that you may need to practice in the beginning anyway. Every time you want to sit down and do whatever it is that you want to do, write that book, make that painting, create that movie, whatever it is. Right? Pay attention to the fear, how it feels in your body, where you carry it. Reframe. Think about what could go best. Get into that space of love, of the energy. Like, bring that energy back into you. It's really up to you. This is why you can do this through your meditation practice. 3 minutes is all it takes sometimes. And when you shift into that space and you can feel it in your heart and you can feel it's been activated and you're imagining that beautiful outcome, the positive outcome, let go of the outcome and go to work and just start and see what happens. Yeah. And that's how you begin to quiet that voice. The inner critic voice cannot be quieted with violence, with force. It can only be quieted with love. And the love that you have the ability to generate. It's energy. Right? So I'm sensitive to the time, and I promise there will be some live coaching on this call. And I know that Adele reached out to me and was willing to step into the space and talk about something. So I want to take about 10 minutes. So this will be like a short, tiny session that perhaps I'm going to spotlight Adele here. I'm going to spotlight myself. Can I spotlight myself? Let's spotlight. Here we go. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So here's the question I want to start with, Adele, because we've been in this space before and we know we can talk for a long time.
Yeah.
But I want to be efficient about this today. And the question that I have for you is, what would you like to have reactivated in you that will support your well-being and creative growth? What do you feel needs to be activated in you?
I actually have been thinking about this a lot, Peleg, and I have to say that your triangle this morning was really powerful. I've seen that triangle before, but never put quite that way. And I've fallen into, I took your creative high growth. I have fallen into all of the perimeter of that triangle. So I've thought about this a lot. And I realized that what I have been missing, because I've been telling myself some variation of what I've heard here today, I've been missing the creative part, the doing something creative. I've started reintegrating writing every morning. That's really started to unlock some of the other stuff. But I have, for all of the reasons I've heard from everybody else this morning, oh, why bother? I'm not good enough. What's the point? All of those things have stopped me. And I'm surrounded by people who are doing this kind of work, as you know. And I can't get myself to go there. It's one of the reasons that when I saw this particular seminar, I was like, oh my God, you wrote this one for me, right? Yeah, I think.
So I'm going to repeat the question. What do you feel needs to be activated in you?
You mean other than the fact that I need to do something creative and I have to create a daily practice. Is that what you're looking for? Or be beneath
Underneath
that?
that, yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah,
what needs
okay,
to
great.
be activated in order for you to actually be able, have the ability to do that?
Yes, I need to get back to some self-love. I mean, my inner
Absolutely.
critic has been high. It has been, I mean, it has been sabotaging me. I am on the, I don't know how many people know. I explained to you, and I'm a teacher. I just went on my fourth sabbatical. Each one of them, of course, is different. This one very different because I'm also in a life transition. I'm thinking ahead that this sabbatical is probably going to just sort of slide me into a retirement of sorts, and I'm scaring myself to death. It
Can
just
I
seems
pause
big.
and ask you what's scary about it, about the
The
retirement, going to
unknown,
retirement?
the unknown, and I'm not psychologically or in a personal way in a place I would feel strong enough to face that unknown. So I think it's mostly just scaring myself with what's out there and what I don't feel capable of doing.
And do you think that if you knew, you would actually be okay?
um, yeah, I think I've, examined my internal world, ad nauseum for most of my life and looked for all those answers. But I think sometimes just chop wood, carry water, just maybe
Yeah.
start to do some of those things, which I'm starting to set them up, but
So it sounds to me, Adele, that the biggest shift that you could benefit from, that would really heal the space for you and bring in the ambition and motivation that you're seeking to create the next phase of your life, is making peace with the unknown. Yeah. How can you do that? How can we do that? How do we make peace with the unknown? What comes to mind when you hear me say this phrase, to make peace with the unknown?
well, I think, again, what we've been talking about in the seminar, facing it with love and not fear, because that's all that's, been motivating me these in the last few weeks is just, I'm so filled with fear. The moments that I can do a loving thing or feel a loving thing, it disappears. But of course, I have a very strong inner critic.
So help me understand, Adele, how do you make peace with anything in your life? Something that is in your past, how have you made peace with something? Can you don't have to go into the details, but what part of you did you need to tap into or to access in order to make peace, like consciously make peace with something and move on?
I need to forgive myself. I think that's my work, forgiveness of myself and then other people. And when I can do that and when I can stay in that space, everything changes.
Ah. And how do you forgive yourself? How does that work?
I start to look at myself as others might, instead of how my internal world and see all my badness and, all the things that, are not good about me or my defects. But, the way that I might look at somebody else who even did that same thing, I would want to comfort them. I don't usually want to comfort myself.
Yeah, that's a powerful act of self-love, to simply nurture myself. Yeah. And I think the idea of making peace with the unknown could be a really powerful topic for you to bring into your journey books every day. Like begin to really unpack that, like, and examine, what does that mean to me to make peace with the unknown? What do I need to say to myself from that place of love, from that place of my higher self? What do I need to keep reminding myself? Right? Can you think about maybe one thing that would come from that space that you could say to yourself, let's say as a mantra every day? Give me one example.
You are inherently good.
You are inherently good. Yeah. The question is, are you willing to believe that? Are you?
Yeah, I think I've been working on that all my life.
Yeah. So what can you do to support yourself to keep reminding yourself that you are inherently good? Like what tools can you use in your life that you will be reminded of you are inherently good?
I guess I find action to be most beneficial. And I think when I do something that I feel proud of or feel good about or feel loving towards someone, I think that starts to support that part of me. When I say no, it's the things I regret the most. I want to say yes more.
Yeah. Okay, I have some homework for you. You willing to play? After this call, and this is homework for all of you guys, because whatever, you're inherently good, whatever that version is for you, okay? Write that down right now. The thing that you need to hear that you haven't maybe heard enough of in your life from mom and dad or from society in general. The thing that you believe that will help you begin to shift out of the negative space from scarcity into that space of abundance. Right? So, Adele, what I'd like you to do is after this call, I want you to take a pad of Post-its. You have one around? Great. And on that pad of Post-its, I want you to make 10 Post-its, each in a different color, like write with a different color pen or marker, right? Make it beautiful, make it fun. And on each one of them, write, you are inherently good. And then I want you to take those 10 Post-its and put them in random places around your house. Put one on the bathroom mirror, put one under the toilet seat, put one inside of the fridge, put one in the kitchen cupboard, put one, you get the gist, right? Spread it around the house. Maybe in a way that places that may surprise yourself the next time you open that cabinet and see that message. And for the next week, keep them around the house and just read them as you walk through your day. You are inherently good is going to be at you everywhere you go. And the reason I'm asking you to do that is because what I heard you tell me is that the times that I feel that I'm inherently good is when I hear it from the outside of the world, when I do something good, when I get positive feedback from people. It activates that idea for me. It reminds me that I'm inherently good. And what we're trying to do here is not have that belief be tied to an action. We just want to have it be a belief. And what is the essence of belief? What is a belief? A belief is a repeated thought, period. So if you're walking around thinking, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, that's in the background running, that thought. Well, it's creating a belief that you're not good enough. For you to actually shift into a belief that you are inherently good, you have to hear that thought a lot. So the Post-it exercise could possibly help remind you every day, ongoing. It may come to a point where, and I want to hear if that happens for you, that you'll get to a point when you look at one of these Post-its and you'll start laughing because you'll go, yeah, I get it. I am good. I'm inherently good. I don't need these Post-its anymore. I've trained my brain. I've trained my thinking to believe, to believe that thought.
Just one just little correction about, I think what happens for me when I do something that I think is good, it's not from somebody else. It's my feeling that I did the right thing, that it feels good to me. But that's just
yeah, I get it.
Doesn't
Thank
really
you for
help me actually. Yeah, it doesn't always help me to get it from somebody else because it feels like it could be fake.
Yes.
For me, I know when I did something right, and I know when I don't feel good about an action.
Yeah.
So,
right. So thank you for clarifying that. And I still stand behind the point that we don't want that belief to be tied to an action.
Yeah.
We want everything you do to come from a place that you believe I'm inherently good. And here's the truth, right? We all make mistakes. We all screw up. We all hurt people unintentionally. It doesn't mean that we're not inherently good. It means that maybe we uh, maybe we approach the situation in a way that we weren't aware of certain things. Maybe our blind spots got in the way. We get to examine our actions and examine what it is that we did that we weren't aware of, but we still can come from a place of love. We still come from a place of, I'm inherently good. I know that I am. Let me understand what it is that I did here or I said that created this outcome that I really didn't want. This outcome maybe hurt someone or hurt myself. What was I paying attention to? Right. So you're coming from a place of curiosity, not judgment. Yeah. All right. Are you willing to play along? Tell me like, yeah, I'd love to hear from you in a week. Shoot me an email. Tell me how you feel.
Good student. I'll do it. I'll try anything.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for playing. Okay. I want to tell you about our next creative high growth journey that's starting in April. April 20th is when day one begins. There's a few people who've on this call, a few of the Voyagers who've gone through the process. I'm wondering if maybe one or two of you would want to talk about your experience of going through this journey as it relates to what we talked about today, as it relates to what you learned about yourself, what you've created along the way, and what have you implemented from that work into your life that that made a difference. Yeah. Who'd like to jump in? Let's start with Leanne and we'll go to Erickson after.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Leanne, and I did the Creative High Growth Program in 2022. And the thing that really drew me to the program was the fact that I was in a liminal space in my life. I was making a transition out of a very stressful job, and I was feeling exhausted and angry. I just was processing a lot of emotions, and I felt really alone as well in all of this. I felt very inside my head, and my inner critic was just angry, angry at lots of things, and was definitely blocking me from like getting in touch with the source of all of these emotions. And so my experience in the Creative High Growth Program was really about understanding what lies beneath and getting in touch with the fact that even when that inner critic is so dominant, is so loud, that there still very much exists the voice of the higher self. And for me, the higher self volume was turned way down and the inner critic was turned way up. And that helped me adjust the volume knobs there. And I learned how to listen to this other part of me that had always been there. And that was life-changing for me. That really set me on a path of healing. And I can say that I think that healing continues for sure. But I now feel like I'm in a different place. And that the work that we did around the inner critic and talking with the higher self and having even those two talk to each other, that reoriented things for me and set me in a good direction.
Can you say something about the body of work that you created, Leanne, inside of the 100 days?
Yeah. So I've been in the design industry for 30 years and went to art school. And I felt like I probably hadn't picked up art supplies in years. It had been a really long time. And I created over 100 pieces of art in the 100 Days program. And I rediscovered how powerful just making art for myself, not for a client, not for an agenda, not to please anybody else or get approval, but just literally as a form of self-expression that I could use for myself and then also share with a small community of like-minded people who were doing the same. It was, I don't know, it set me free. It really set me free, and it helped me get in touch with the power of being creative as an act of joy in itself, an act of expression in itself. Yeah, it was really powerful.
Well said. And I'm really excited and thrilled that Leanne is joining our next cohort as a supporting mentor. So you'll have the opportunity to actually learn from her and her experience and all the things that she's learned along the process. Thank you, Leanne. That was beautiful. Erickson, you wanted to share, and then Toby.
Sure. Thank you, Peleg. I was reminded that there's a quote on the website that you'd shared with us, like about encapsulating my experience as an extraordinary adventure of artistry, self-discovery, and creative transformation. And for me, this work of the last 5 years has been revolutionary and life-changing. When I met Peleg, I just got done with a serious spinal injury that left me bedridden for a month before I was in surgery. I've been in a creative career and was burnt out. I was angry, didn't know what to do, didn't know where to go. And I had this powerful conversation with Peleg. And next thing you know, I'm the first person through the creative high growth process. Yeah, it was interesting to find out that the inner critic was not only present in me, it was running my show. I was angry, I was bitchy, I had a lot of wounds that hadn't been healed, and all of those wounds were running my show. And I remember one of the first things that you said to me when I came out there is you gave me permission. I didn't ask for the permission, but you saw something as just like I needed permission to reconnect with everything that I'd left behind and everything that had been covered by all those hurt and the wounds and expectations. And I hate to wax poetic, but everything in my life has changed in doing this work over 5 years. While I'm still in the creative profession, the power of coaching caught me so hard, and seeing the power in it. I was training to be a priest and was forced to leave the seminary because of who I was. And I never thought I would be able to powerfully serve people that way. And doing the work showed me that not only could I do that, but I could reconnect with that calling that I had in my teens. And now I'm coaching. I'm seeing this work continue to inform the way that I show up into the world. But I also see the power with people that I work. And with what Leanne had said is, in doing creative work professionally, I lost my creative voice along the way. I'd stopped playing music. I'd stopped creating art for myself. Everything was problem solving, and I was exhausted. In the meantime, since doing this, I'm working on my third book. I'm beginning to sell my artwork. I'm a Buddhist teacher in formation, and the lamas have encouraged me to use my artwork as a vehicle to encourage and inspire people and to make the teachings fresh and relevant. So yeah, and for me in doing this work, everything has changed. Everything continues to change. And my inner critic has now become my best friend. When my inner critic shows up, I stop, I sit down, we have tea, and we talk. Because what I've learned about my inner critic is when he shows up, there's some aspect of myself that has a treasure that if I simply sit down, I can not only unearth that treasure, but I can release its energy into everything that I do. And that has simply been for me very beautiful, again, because there was so much hurt and loss and pain before this process that all of these things, I can be vulnerable now. And vulnerability is one of my superpowers. I'm not afraid to cry in front of people because when I cry, I know that I'm in touch with something that's powerful. And I know that the power of being in touch with my emotions and being able to express who I am allows other people the same permission, like Peleg gave me that first day. And that's some powerful shit. It's good medicine. And I can't wait to get up in the morning and share that with the world. So thank you, Peleg, for inviting me to myself.
You did some incredible work in the process. As Erickson mentioned, he was the first one to go through the process. He, in a way, helped me create the process, which was just all, I think, divine intervention. Erickson and I shared the same birthday too, which is also a little mind blowing. We were born in the same moment. Isn't that crazy? So yeah, Erickson is also, I've gone through the process once as supporting mentor already, and he's coming back into our cohort in April to be supporting mentor again and to support the students one-on-one inside of the process as well. Toby, would you like to share a word or two? You taken the process, what, 3 years ago? Go ahead and unmute yourself, Toby.
Hi there. My name's Toby Neal. I took the Creative High Growth in March of 2020, right in the beginning and most intense part of the pandemic. It was the perfect inner journey. I am a very outwardly successful creative person with over 50 books and fiction and memoir. And at the time of taking that inner journey, I was hitting a creative wall and feeling very much like I had this empire on my shoulders that I couldn't hold up anymore. And since then, I'm also a therapist, clinical psychology, and I went into it not knowing much about it, having been exposed to Peleg's teaching over repeated experiences like this. I still had so much inner critic going that I was afraid to make the investment in myself. And I kept trying to talk myself out of it. And you probably will experience some of that resistance yourself if you're feeling called to the work and to the 100 days. It's a big commitment. It's going to take you places you will never anticipate and can't anticipate. And as someone who comes from a psychology background, there was this part of my mind that was observing the whole time, like, this is fucking genius. Where did this guy study? And it was like, because I have read a lot, I have heard a lot, I have seen a lot, and I was blown away. Every single day I was blown away. I can't add much to what my dear friends Leanne and Erickson have said, except to say that if you at all can make the space in your life with financial and time, there is no better investment you could make in yourself and your future and your quality of life on the remaining days you have on this planet.
Well said, Toby. I'm wondering if you could share something about, we have a beautiful community of alumni who've taken this process and we meet for retreats. Can you share about your experience of what it was like to be part of this community?
Well, I am a really big believer in setting intentions, and so is Peleg. And the last few years, Peleg offered a annual retreat at his favorite watering hole in Santa Fe, literally all of the bubbling pools, this wonderful spa retreat place. I was so disappointed there wasn't one this year. I was counting down the days.
Oh, it's coming. It's coming in the summer. We're gonna have a retreat on the other side of the
yeah,
days.
but I have been a regular attender of these graduated people follow-ups. And again, every time you make a financial commitment and you make a scheduling commitment, you make a space out of your regular life to go and say yes to that call from within. And Peleg is uniquely gifted to draw that out of us creative people. Not everyone has that gift, quite frankly, and Peleg has that gift. And so I've made it a practice to try to say yes to that as often as I can. Every single time has been a new, unique, mind-blowing blessing. The last time we did ecstatic dance, that I can still feel like I was in a psychedelic dream with no drugs. And it was just amazing. And so you get in touch with that inner child. And sadly, as these exercises unearthed in my own life, you keep falling asleep to yourself. You get away from that inner child, and the old tapes start playing, and the inner critic starts talking, and you can just get this crust. For me, it feels like a crust that's forming over my spirit. And it's a constant battle to scrape it away and scrape it away and scrape it away. And as soon as I stop the practices, it starts forming again. And so you will have to keep doing the work. It's not a one-time shot, but it is so worthwhile. There's just, it's a spiritual journey is what it is.
Thank you, Toby. Yeah, I'd like to think of the Creative High Growth process as a Kickstarter to the rest of your life, because you will be taught very specific tools to keep this process of abundance, activating abundance in your life active. Ultimately, it's up to you to stay in the work, to stay awake. The minute we step outside, and this is one of the reasons I stay in the work. This is one of the reasons I love teaching this work, because it keeps me active in this work every day. Because my inner critic, when he's active, out of control, not pretty, right? So here's a couple of things that I'd like to offer you guys if you are considering coming on this journey with us in April. The first thing, and I'll put this in the chat, is a link to download from my website a sample session. So you can actually get an idea of what is it like to get these daily sessions from me and have me in your ear, and what does it feel like to do the work. This session is designed to kind of give you the a taste of the experience, right? It's a very, very non-risk opportunity for you to actually do this work as an introduction. So I encourage you to download this. It's about 100 minutes long, and get a really good pair of headsets. For this, I would insist that you use headsets, because you want to be inside of that bubble with me. Get a pair of get a notebook, get some art supplies, whatever you have around, color pencils, chalks, pastels, whatever, some paper, and go on this short little sample journey and see how it resonates for you. See what comes up for you. And with that said, thank you for joining our gathering today. And for you who is listening at home, thank you for being here, for doing this work, for showing up. And to learn more about my mentoring program and to inquire about working together, please visit my website at pelegtop.com. I'll see you next time.